And so again, welcome. If you are just joining us, there's a list of props in your chat that you can check out and gather those things around you to support your practice. And welcome to everybody here in the studio. I have a sweet group here. My name is Katie Luvat, and I guide the intermediate yoga class for the Sterling Silvers on every other Wednesday. Just a reminder, as we are moving into our practice, one of the foundational principles of yoga is a concept called Ahimsa, which is a Sanskrit word. It's one of the ethical principles or practices in the yoga philosophy. And it simply means to practice doing no harm. So not causing harm to ourselves or others, you know, in actions or in words or whatnot. So in the context of our class here, just making sure to pay attention. And if something hurts, there's sharp pain anywhere, in a shape that I'm inviting you to come into, please come out of that pose or rest when you need to. And just make sure that you feel like the practice is supporting you and you're honoring your body when it's making you, or making a request to rest or come out of a pose. And then also we can think about how we're talking to ourselves and be kind with how we're talking to ourselves, which is going to bring me to a little story I have. I'm going to try to be brief, but I was telling Tori, she came on this morning, and I have a book that I've been reading. I read a lot in the mornings when I wake up. And one of the books I've been reading is this book I've shared before. It's called Yoga for Healthy Aging. It's a really wonderful book. There's chapters on everything. There's chapters on yoga for strength or bone strength or yoga for flexibility. And the chapter that I was reading the other morning was yoga for cardiovascular health. And so I was reading through it, and there's all of the things that you might expect. It talks a lot about the physiology and how physically the yoga practice can help us support our heart and our veins and everything. But one of the big things that he talks about, and it reminded me, is that the philosophy of yoga and the mindfulness that we cultivate in yoga, and maybe the breath work that we do in yoga, can really help us with stress management. And that when we are mindfully managing our stress and working with stress in a mindful way, that supports heart health and the health of our heart. So the funny story is I was like, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense to me. And then I proceeded to put the book down, and I had a little meditation with my husband. We took 5 minutes and sat. And then I had some extra time, and I had a yoga class to teach at the studio, and I decided I would walk my dog. I had time. I could walk my dog to the yoga studio. She comes down here with me in the mornings. So we go on this walk, and I'm feeling great, and it's a beautiful morning. And then I go to cross a really busy street, and I'm on the crosswalk, and there were no cars coming in one direction. And I started going across, and there were cars coming in the other direction. And usually they stop for me. They see me and my dog and they stop. But this morning was not the case. And like 5 cars zipped by, and I was kind of like waving my arms and doing that whole thing. They just kept going. And then I just got into this funk in my head, and I had this big old conversation, so like how rude and not safe and all these things, and kept crossing the road, and I got all riled up. And then I had an insight, because I had been reading about yoga and stress management and whatnot. And I paused and noticed how my anger and my impatience, or whatever conversation I was having in my head, was affecting my physical body. My heart was beating, and I could feel the stress. It was the stress response that came up. Your body releases all of these hormones like cortisol to help you react to stress. But the moment had passed, but it hadn't passed in my head. And how often does that happen to you, right? Where something happens and then you just keep ruminating on it for hours or days. And we're kind of unconscious about it. It's like unconscious thought that's happening. But the body is responding to your thoughts, even though the moment is over. You're still releasing all those stress hormones. Your heart is still beating because it wants to get up and help you and give you the energy you need to fight the grizzly bear or whatever it is. So that moment, and thank you for listening to me for a moment, I was like, oh, the moment is over. I can continue on with this slow walk. There's some beautiful flowers. I'm here with my dog. I get to go see my yoga students. That's out in front of me, and that's going to be lovely. And I could just feel my whole body start to settle as I came back into the present moment. Feel my feet on the ground, feel the breeze on my skin. So yoga for heart health, not just the physical practice of yoga, but just remembering when you can, when you notice that you're ruminating on something that's past, that's not, maybe that's stressful, or worrying about something in the future, to come back into the present moment. And we'll talk about some other things as we move through our practice today that can also help us support our hearts. Thanks for listening. We're going to begin. I was saying we were going to make a loop in our strap, but we'll do it later. We're going to begin seated. And you can put yourself onto a couple of blankets, or, you know, prop yourself up on a block, or if you're at home and you want to just sit in a chair for a moment. What we want to do is come into a comfortable seat so that the pelvis can be upright and the spine can be upright, because we're going to do a little bit of breath work. Okay, to begin our practice, a little centering, a little breath work. The legs, if possible, are crossed, maybe the feet tucked under the knees. This shape is called Sukhasana, which translates in Sanskrit to mean easy pose, which is laughable because it really actually isn't that easy for, for everybody. If your hips are tight, or your hamstrings are tight, getting your hips up higher on a blanket can help support you. If you have knee discomfort or arthritis in the knees or the hips, taking your blocks and tucking them under the knees can provide even more support. It's not cheating, it's just giving you what you need. And if you just need to have a leg stretched out long, take care of yourself. But here we are, and we'll close our eyes. If you feel like it, you could also just soften your gaze and take a moment to drop in to this moment. A few slow breaths, and feeling your connection to the ground, feeling the connection to the ground, whether it's direct or indirect. Sometimes, again, we're up in our heads and we don't realize it, and just feeling our feet on the ground, or in this case, our sit bones on the ground or on a blanket that's touching the ground, can help us settle. Feeling your spine rising up out of your pelvis, maybe taking your shoulders up into your ears with an inhale and then releasing them back and down with your exhale. And bringing your hands to your abdomen and your awareness to your breath. Feeling your inhale, your next inhale come in. And you might feel some movement under your hands. And as the exhale moves out, again, you might feel a little movement. You don't need to push the belly, you don't need to pull the belly, but just feeling as you maybe move your next exhale out more completely. You might feel a gentle drawing inward of the abdomen toward the spine. And as the next inhale moves in more completely, you might feel the belly expand or the ribs expand. So just feeling the breath, the movement of the breath under your hands, and deepening the breath gradually. And we're going to place our hands, palms down, on our thighs now. And on your next inhale, we'll roll the palms up and maybe count to 4 as you inhale, a slow count of 4 to draw the whole breath in. And as you exhale, roll your palms down and count to a slow count of 4 to exhale completely. So we're bringing our inhale and exhale to balance. As your inhale rolls in, roll the palms up and inhale for 4. As the exhale begins, roll the palms down and exhale for a count of 4. And continue on your own. So we'll do this for a little bit, connecting the body and the mind and the breath, coming right into this present moment. The inhale rolls the palms up, and the breath counts are moving as fast or as slow as feels supportive for you. So you want to feel like you have time to get a whole breath in and for it to feel a little longer and fuller than usual, but you don't want to feel strained. allowing for any natural pause between the breaths. And the mind might wander even here, and when it does, acknowledging it and then just simply coming back with your next inhale. Good. One more breath cycle this way. And then just rolling the palms up, leaving them up, and allowing the breath to move however it wants to move. And feeling how you are in this moment after a little conscious breath work, balancing the inhale and exhale, bringing yourself right into the present moment. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and you can release your legs and stretch them out in front of you and just give them a little shake out. Okay. And we'll come off of our platform, whatever we created for ourselves to sit on. You can come off of your blankets or off of your blocks. And we're going to recline. So we'll lie down. If you need a padding for underneath you, you can unfold a blanket to put down for yourself. You want your strap handy. And if you get down here onto your back and your forehead is a lot lower than your chin, it might be nice to just give yourself a little lift under your head, like a blanket. Sometimes that happens if we have more of a pronounced thoracic curve. It is rounder in the upper back, and then it just makes the cervical spine be hyperextended when you're lying down. So give yourself the support you need. Feel your feet on the ground, inner foot, outer foot grounded, feet hip width apart. And on your next inhale, think about your tailbone. That's the pointy bone at the very bottom of your spine, at the bottom of the sacrum, and press it into the ground on your inhale. Feel your lower back arch away from the ground. And then exhale, pull your navel down toward the floor and imprint your lower back and your pelvic rim down into the ground. So we're just going to begin to rock the pelvis, as we often do. As you inhale, the tailbone rocks into the ground, the low back arches away from the floor. And as you exhale, the navel pulls down, the pelvic rim prints down into the ground, so does the lower back. And you're trying to move with your breath. So again, that's one of the invitations in our yoga practice, is to kind of bring together, collect the scattered attention, bring it into the body, and even try to connect our mind and our body and our breath. So the inhale rocks us into one position, the low back arching away from the floor, and the exhale flattens the low back down. Now, when you're ready, we're going to bring both of the knees into the chest, and your hands come to your knees. And as you inhale, press your knees away from you and then pull them apart. And then pull the legs in toward your trunk and then the thighs back together. So it's like you're painting two big circles on the ceiling. We're starting to move the femurs and the hip sockets and lubricate the hip joints. And while you're doing this, I'll just talk to you. One of the benefits of moving this way, kind of moving in and out of these shapes, is there's kind of a pumping action. Our muscles are contracting and then they're relaxing. And so that's, again, one of the ways to kind of get blood flowing and circulating to aid and assist our circulatory system, the cardiovascular system. When you're ready, go ahead and reverse those circles, circling the legs around the other way, feeling the lower back arching and flattening into the floor as the thigh bones move in toward you and back and out and away from you. And just feeling the stretch maybe through the inner legs as you draw the legs apart and then they come back together. Now, when you're ready, let's set the right foot down on the ground and take the left leg with your hands. You're going to hold on to the thigh or a strap. You could loop a strap around your thigh. We're going to flex the left foot and reach the left foot into the sky. So you're holding on to the back of the hamstring. And then point the foot and bend the knee and continue moving this way. So you're going to flex the foot and inhale, straighten the leg. And then point the foot and exhale, bend the knee. And again, you feel how this is this dynamic movement in and out of a shape. And you can feel how it's asking our muscles to contract and then relax or shorten and lengthen. And you can imagine how, you know, that's asking, so it's helping that blood to flow. It's moving blood through the veins and arteries. And of course, again, you know, I'm kind of focusing on heart health today, but we know this is just such good movement for our joints and strengthening around the joints and creating space around the joints. Now, when you're ready, you're gonna hug the leg into the chest and find that strap and unravel it if you didn't unravel it yet. And we're gonna lasso the left foot. You're gonna take the strap over the arch of your left foot and reach the left leg up into the sky. And then slide your hands down the strap until you're able to straighten the leg and feel like your waist is evenly balanced on your right and left side. So you're not hiking one hip into your ribs. Your waist, your pelvis is balanced, and you've got a gentle stretch coming up through the back of the leg. We're not pushing too hard, because remember, that will trigger that stretch reflex and it won't want to let go. If we move too far, too fast, we also have the potential to strain or pull muscles. So we want to move slow. Once you get here, feel the arms rest back into their sockets. Draw your shoulder blades down your back and enjoy a few breaths. Stretch the right leg out long. Imagine you're standing on your right foot or planting your right foot on a wall at the other end of the room. Make sure that feels okay. If that aggravated your low back at all, you can rebend your right knee and put your foot on the floor. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good. And then when you're ready, we'll release. We're going to set the left foot back down on the ground and rebend the right leg and rock the right thigh into the trunk and catch the right leg with your hands. So we can do the same sequence on the second side. We're going to flex the right foot and with an inhale, reach the heel toward the sky. And then point the foot and bend the knee. So we're mobilizing the ankle joint, we're mobilizing the knee joint, we're elongating the muscles that run over the back of the ankle joint, the back of the knee, and the back of the hip. And as you straighten the leg, we're strengthening the muscles that cross over the knee joint and that cross over the front of the ankle joint. So just feeling that, and again, that sense of support for the circulatory system. The other thing that happens here, and I'll talk about that now as we strap up the right foot. So when you're ready, go ahead and take the strap over the right foot and then reach the right leg into the sky. Find just the right amount of stretch, not too much, not too little. Organize shoulders and hips and spine, and then slide the left leg long. So the other cool thing about this position right here is that our leg and our foot are right now, they're higher than our heart. For most of the day, we're standing upright. And so think about how gravity works on us and how hard the heart has to work to pump the blood from our lower extremities back up to the heart. But right now, with the leg up in the air and with the leg higher than the heart, we're using gravity to give the heart a little bit of a break, to help that fluids drain out of the leg and return to the heart. And so just thinking of that here, in addition to maybe knowing that you're helping your low back, if you tend to have low back pain, just by stretching the back of the legs open, and so many good things come from this shape. But again, a little inversion with the leg higher than the heart, supporting the circulatory system here. All right. And then when you're ready, go ahead and release, and we'll let that leg come back to the ground. And we're going to bend both of the knees and plant the feet on the floor, and nearby, hopefully you have a block, or if you don't have a block, if you're at home and you have a thick book, or if you have a pillow, you could use that. But we're going to grab a block and we're going to slide it between the thighs. And this is going to be some work to activate the muscles of the inner legs. And this is some stabilizing work for the pelvis. So SI joint stuff, this is a really nice movement for you. SI is our sacroiliac joint, which is where your sacrum comes to meet your two ilium. Your spine comes down and then it runs into this bone. It's a wedge shape. It's called your sacrum. And that's the joint. This SI joint is where the sacrum and the ilium come together. Okay, so right now we're going to put the block between our thighs and gently hug onto it evenly with the right leg and the left leg. And rock your pelvis a little bit. Rock to your tailbone as you give that block a little hug. Rock to your tailbone, feel the low back arch, and then exhale, pull the navel down and print the low back into the floor. Feel the low back flatten. Go back and forth a couple of times. Good. And then find neutral pelvis. So neutral is going to be where you're balanced right on the middle of the sacrum. You're not on the tailbone. You're not on the top wide rim where the low back flattens. There's a little breezeway under your waistband. And take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, without flattening your lower back and without overarching it, could you start to press the block a little bit more firmly with your inner legs? And then inhale, keep pressing, and then exhale, press a little harder. Now we're never going to 100%. Think about pressing the block, maybe about 50% or 60% of your effort. Take one more breath cycle and firm your legs into that block. And then with your next inhale, relax everything. Let go of the grip. Take a breath in and out. And let's do that again. On your next exhale, hug your femurs into the blocks, gradually pushing harder and harder. With each exhale, layer on a little bit of effort. The other thing we can do is as you're exhaling and firming into the blocks a little bit more, you could also think about drawing your pelvic floor muscles up. Inhaling, firming into the block a little bit more. Good, one more time. And then release. This is also a really good option if anybody in class suffers from sciatica on occasion. This work with the block press is a really nice way to relieve sciatica. So let's do one more round of this. Take a deep breath in and exhale firm into the block. Take another breath in. Exhale, firm a little bit more into that block. Feel that the right leg and the left leg are evenly pressing. Make sure you're not overarching or over flattening the back. You're nice and neutral in the pelvis and spine. One more exhale, firming into the block. And then release. Good. Now, I'm going to have you pull the block out. And we're going to roll over and just help yourself up and find your strap. Jumping from one thing to the next here. We're staying on we've jumped. I know we were doing talking a lot about the circulatory system, but I had a request for some movement that would help bring some stability to the pelvis. So we started by waking up the strong muscles of the inner legs. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to wake up the muscles of the outer hips. And so what we need to do is make a loop with our strap. So if you have a strap that has a buckle, what you're going to do is you're going to hold on to the buckle in one hand with the teeth pointing down, or if you have a buckle with 2D loops, you're just going to hold on to those loops. With your other hand, slide your hand down the length of your strap to find the tail, just to make sure it doesn't have a twist in it. You're going to take that tail and you're going to go up through the hole that has the teeth. It's the hole that's the closest, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Stop doing what you're doing. You're going to go up through the hole that's closest to the fabric. My apologies. I know this. And then you're going to come down through the hole that has the teeth. Okay. And then you can pull on that short tail that you made and it will make your loop small. Okay. What we want is we want to create a loop that is going to be hip width apart. Now, if you don't have a strap with a loop or with a buckle, you're just going to tie a loop. And what we want to do is we want to put it around our thighs just above our knees. Okay. And you want to feel like you can press out into that strap, and it's going to keep your feet and knees and hips hip width apart. So if you push out into the strap and it starts to get bigger, then that strap loop isn't built properly. So I'll help you with it. And if you're at home and you're having trouble, then you're just going to tie a knot, and you just want it to hold your legs hip width apart so you can press out and it gives you some resistance. Are we good? And Diane, I'm going to have you open up that loop just a little bit, because I think your sit bones are a little wider than the loop that you made. Okay, so we're going to lie down again. And again, you want to make sure that you've got a loop. It's just above your knees on your thighs. Your feet are hip width apart. And if you press out into the loop, it's going to give you resistance. Your knees aren't going to widen wider than your hips. The strap is holding you here. Okay. Does anybody need assistance in the space? Sue, do you want to use mine? Are you good? You got it? If you press out, I think that is good. It's perfect. All right. So hopefully this is translating well at home. I know this is a little, strap loops are a little technical here, but here we go. So we're lying on our backs. We have a strap just above our knees. It's hip width apart, and you're going to tip and tuck the pelvis and find neutral. Now, earlier we were hugging a block. It was activating the inner legs, and now it's gentle, like really 20% or 30%. I want you to take a deep breath in and gently press out into the strap. Keep your inner feet grounded. Take another deep breath in. Gently press out into the strap. So we're not going to try to furiously press out into the strap with all of our might, but I want you to feel your outer hip muscles engaging. Your lower back is neutral. It's not overarched or over flattened. Take one more breath here. And then relax. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move into bridge pose with this strap around our thighs. And we're going to be pressing out into strap, and then we're going to lift our hips off the ground into bridge pose. So the arms are pressing down alongside your trunk. Give your shoulder blades a little flip so that the front of the heart is open. The arms are going to push down. Your feet are pushing down. Press gently out into the strap. Feel that activation at the outer hips. With an inhale, maintaining that outer press, push your feet down, push your arms down, lift your hips up. Think about your thigh bones moving toward your knees and your knees toward your toes. And then exhale, lower the hips down. Good. This is our movement. The inhale lifts us up, the arms press down, the feet press down, and you're pressing out into the strap. And then exhaling, the hips come down. So here's our moving meditation. Continue. Firming out, feel that your legs are firming evenly out. Sometimes one leg is stronger than the other, and it wants to work harder than the other. So as you lift and lower, and I want you to lift and lower, can you feel that your right and your left leg are evenly supporting you in lifting and lowering? Can you feel the weight evenly pressing into the inner foot and the outer foot? And can you press evenly out into the loop around your legs with your right leg and your left leg? And we'll just do two more. If you're pushing the feet down and lifting the hips up, you'll feel the gluteal muscles firing. If your lower back feels like it's trying to do the work for you, it probably is. Add abdominal work. Draw your pubic bone toward your navel. Let your sit bones move toward your knees. So you're going to try to unarch the back a little bit using low abdominal muscles and glutes, and maybe letting the front low ribs soften down into the body. So one more time, we're going to lift and hold the bridge pose. You're gently pressing out into the strap. You're pressing down into the feet and the arms. And we'll take 5 breaths here. Okay, collarbones are broad, back of the skull firming down, inner feet firming down, and you're pressing out evenly, right and left leg into the strap, low abdomen is engaged. And then when you are ready, I think probably 1 or 2 more breaths here. Sometimes I hurry you through those 5 breaths. Then go ahead and lower down. And you can slip that strap off of your legs and just set it off to the side. If your lower back did feel like it was taking over, give your knees a hug, or if it just sounds nice, give your knees a hug and rock yourself from side to side a little bit. Good job, everybody. How did it go? Did that all make sense in your bodies for the folks in the room here? Yeah? Okay, good. Good. How's your SI joint feeling over there? David, right? Yeah. Good. There's your formula. Squeeze a block between the legs and then firm out into a strap and do a bridge pose, and your SI joint will be happier, I think. So sometimes the SI joint gets out of whack because there's some kind of imbalance between the right hip or the left hip or the inner legs or the outer legs, and it can create a little twist in that SI. We're going to come up to our feet. So when you're ready, you can rock over and then go ahead and make your way up to standing on your feet. Okay. And earlier I had said that we would use a wall, and we're going to use the wall for a wall press. But Diane and anybody else that might be here this evening, if you have a shoulder injury and you're not supposed to take your arms over your head, I'm going to give you an alternative. So first, for the folks that are okay with taking your arms over your head, you're going to come to a wall or a door and plant your hands shoulder height, and then you're going to step away from the wall. Your hips reach into the center of the room. The head is in line with the arms, and you're trying to tip and tuck and find a neutral pelvis and a neutral spine. So this is wall press. If you need an alternative for shoulder injuries, you're going to turn your back to the wall. You're about 3 inches away from the wall. The collarbones are open, and you're just going to press your palms into the wall, and that's it. So you're taking the shoulders into extension and lifting the chest and drawing the front of the shoulders back. Good. Good. So wall press, you're trying to create about a 90-degree bend at the hips. That's great, Sue. There you go, you got it. And then bringing your head in line with your arms and straightening through the elbows. Upper arm bones are externally rotating. And we'll take about 3 more breaths. So some folks at home are reaching in this wall press shape. It's like a down dog, but our hands are on the wall and our feet are planted flat on the floor. And then Diane's got some shoulder extension going. Let's go ahead and inhale, come all the way up and release the arm work. Good job. Go ahead and come back to your yoga mat if you walked away from it, and pick up a block. Find mountain pose. Your feet are hip width apart. Your toes are pointing straight ahead, and you're just going to take the block and pass it behind your back. Feel your shoulder blades come toward each other, and then bring the block in front of you. And so we're passing it behind us, maybe with an inhale, and with the exhale, it comes in front. I talk a lot about how so many of the things we do during the day are out in front of us, and they pull our head forward of the spine. And when the head goes forward of the spine, the whole spine rounds and all of our chest muscles get tight, and they hold us in that position. So this simple movement, it doesn't have to be a block. It could be you pick up a magazine off of the counter and you want to sit down and read it, but you pass it behind your back 5 times and then you sit down and read it, right? So it could be anything. When you're ready, I want you to grab the block behind you and hold on to it and think about trying to pull it apart with your hands. Take the front of the shoulders and roll them back so the upper chest opens. And then see if you can straighten the arms. They don't have to straighten completely, but see how straight you can get them. Those are your triceps that are firing. And then bend the arms. So maybe inhale, bend them, and then exhale, straighten them. And inhale, bend them, hug them toward each other, and exhale, straighten them. Just pull the block apart and do that 3 more times. So again, kind of a pumping action. And remembering how that kind of pumping, that contracting and then lengthening helps to get that heart pumping. Sending some blood flow to these muscles. Good. And then one more time, pull the block apart, reach it back for the wall behind you, but keep the front of the shoulders from rounding forward. And take 3 breaths. We're just going to hold this now. Tailbone long. The front ribs might want to fly up here. See if we can keep them soft and integrated. Good. And then when you're ready, release. And you can set that block down. We're still going to be in mountain pose. We're going to do a little more neck and shoulder love. We're going to inhale and take the arms up in front of us with our wrists in flexion. And then plug the arms back into their sockets. They kind of want to go forward, but feel the scapula are on your back ribs. And then extend the wrists. Good. With a big inhale, open the arms wide like you're spreading some heavy drapes. Feel that stretch through the front of the chest. Now pull the arms down. Imagine moving through something thick. There's resistance. Lengthen up through the crown of the head. See if you can feel the muscles under the armpits engaging to help you pull down. So we'll do that a few more times. So we're going to flex the wrists. Inhale, come up the front. And then extend with the exhale. Good. Diane, shoulders down the back and let those front ribs come down. Inhale, open wide. And then pull the arms down with the exhale, lengthen up through the crown. Is this feeling okay for that shoulder? 2 more times, up the front with the wrists in flexion. Extend with the exhale and inhale, open wide. And exhale, pull the arms down, lengthen through the crown. And one more time, inhale, coming up the front. Extend the wrists. Inhale, open wide and hold when you get out there. Now imagine you had like those really big, heavy metal filing cabinets under your arms and you want to firm the arms down, but the filing cabinets are in the way. They won't budge. But see if you could feel like there's something solid you're trying to firm down. Can you feel how that turns your armpit muscles on a little bit? Okay, like you're trying to drag them down. They won't go anywhere. Lengthen up through the back of the neck. Turn your gaze and look to the right. Turn your gaze and look to the left. One more time. Imagine the walls are closing in on you, but you're not letting them. So send the heels of the hands away from you. Good. And then when you're ready, pull those arms down. And then just give the arms a little shake out. Nice work. All right. So with your feet about hip width apart, we're going to move through another kind of pump, kind of flowing sequence. And we're going to move through it really slowly. And then we'll start to move with our breath. This is a half sun salutation. The first movement, and Diane, you're just going to bring your hands, and anybody else who has a rotator cuff injury, you're just going to bring your arms halfway up. But everybody else, you know, and it might be in front of you halfway up. Everybody else on the inhale, you're going to bring your arms forward and all the way up into the sky. And then on an exhale, we're bending the knees. We're going to open the arms and they're hinging from the hips and you're folding forward with your exhale into a standing forward fold. With your inhale, come halfway up. And this is where we're going to pause because I want to make sure everybody has it right. Halfway up, your spine is long. You're going to need to bend your knees a little and stick your buns out. And we want to roll the front of the shoulders away from the floor. So we're not here halfway up. We're here. So you're engaging your back spinal muscles to extend the spine. Now, on an exhale, you're going to allow yourself to release back down. The knees can stay bent so that you're not straining your back. And on your next inhale, can you come through that halfway point? Can you find it again? Good. Diane, let your chest come forward through the frame of the arm. So unround the upper back, see if you can extend. And then use your hamstrings to pull your sit bones down, to pull your pelvis upright. And the arms reach into the sky and the hands come back to the heart. So watch me move through this. I'm going to give you my profile so you can see it from the side, and then we'll join together. So the inhale takes the arms up, and the exhale, the knees bend so that the pelvis can tip forward and we can fold with a flat back. We fold down. And with the inhale, we come halfway up And we want to unround the whole spine. And then exhale, you release back down. And with your next inhale, you come halfway up and then keep going all the way up. You unhinge at the pelvis and the hands come back to the heart. So that's the movement. We're going to do it like 5 times, moving in and out of it. Nice pumping movement. And again, if you have a shoulder injury, your arms might just be coming halfway up instead of bringing them all the way up overhead with the rest of us. So when you're ready, feet are planted. And with an inhale, the arms reach into the sky, or they come halfway up. With an exhale, bend the knees, hinge from the hips. So you can fold with a flat back down into your forward fold, empty your breath, and then come halfway up. Keep the knees bent and see if you can unround the spine, lift the gaze. Nice, everybody. Exhale back down. And with your inhale, come through that flat back place, lift the gaze, come all the way up. So you unhinge with a flat back. And then the hands come back to the heart. And we'll do that again. Inhaling, the arms reach up. Soften the knees, fold forward with the exhale. So we're stretching the back of the legs. And then with the inhale, we come halfway up. We're activating the muscles of the back body. And then exhale, they get to release and relax. And then inhale, activating the back body to lift halfway up and then all the way up. The hamstrings are engaging to pull us up. And the hands come back to the heart, and we'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, reaching. Exhaling, folding forward, knees bend so that pelvis can move freely. Think about the sit bones widening. Come halfway up, lengthen the spine, lift the gaze, and exhale, fold back down. And then inhale, come halfway up, and then keep going. Keep that pelvis lifting. It's lifting the spine all the way up. And the hands come back to the heart, and we'll do 1 last round. Inhaling, arms reach up. So you can think of it as a moving meditation, using the whole exhale to fold forward and using that inhale to initiate that half lift. Inhaling, and the exhale moves out and it pulls you back down. And then inhale, coming halfway up, and then keep going all the way up, arms reach. And then hands to heart, and thumbs resting right on the sternum. And feeling maybe the heart beating a little bit. We have some of those big muscles of the legs that needed some extra blood flow, so the heart is getting it there, right? And a little bright energy. Who needs a cup of coffee? You could just do like 5 to 8 half sun salutations and you'll get your zip. All right, so releasing, and we're gonna do some warrior 2 movements now. Warrior 2 is a standing pose. We're going to turn to face the long edge of the yoga mat. If you haven't done this with me before and you want to watch, you can. I'll just show you and then we'll move into it together. So the legs are wide. The right thigh is going to spiral inwardly. The left leg turns all the way out 90 degrees. And the movement, watch me first, and then we'll do it together. We're going to be moving into warrior 2. And then moving out of it, we're going to go in and out. And then I'm going to add on side angle pose. And if you have a shoulder injury, your hand just comes to your hip. And then we come to warrior 2 and we pull out. So eventually we'll be moving into side angle pose. And then at some point, we're just going to hold. You'll hold side angle pose or you'll hold warrior 2, you can decide. So that's what it looks like. Let's move into it together. So the feet are wide apart, toes are pointing forward, ears are over, shoulders are over, hips are over ankles. We're going to internally rotate the right leg. So the outer right heel swings toward the short edge of the mat. Totally externally rotate the whole left leg. The toes are going to point toward the other short edge of the mat. And feel the corners of the feet grounded. And go ahead and bend your left knee, tracking it right over the center of the foot. That's going to keep meniscuses happy too. So find this position, feel the pelvis is upright, and then think about turning your heart and your lungs back toward the long edge of the mat. We're going to reach the arms out nice and long. Okay, and then when you're ready, that right leg is going to straighten. Actually, we're all on different legs. So the leg that's bent straightens, and then you're going to re-bend. Good. And then you're coming up, hands come to the heart, and exhaling, bending. Good. Couple more times, just moving in and out. I'm going to have you keep going. So maybe the exhale is taking you into warrior two and the inhale is taking you out. And I'm going to just give you a little adjustment for your SI joint, okay? Let your right hip wrap forward. Yes. And then let that knee track right over the center of the foot. Good. Good. And then come back up. Good. So you're letting the hips turn toward the foot, but your upper trunk is turning toward the long edge of the mat. So the rotation's in the spine. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, great. So when you bend your left or your knee again and you're back in warrior two, let's think about abdomen moving spineward so you're nice and strong through your core, and then bringing forearm to thigh, the pelvis tips. Maybe your arm's coming up and alongside the cheekbone, or if your shoulder is injured, the hand comes to the hip. And then let that arm sweep down and you pull back to warrior two, and then straightening that front leg, hands to heart. Good. So right knee bends, David's left knee bends. And then forearm to thigh. Think about the abdomen firming spineward, holding all your belly organs to the spine, and then coming back to warrior two. And then hands to heart, front leg straightens. We'll do that one more time. You can choose, do you want to hang out in warrior two? Or if you want, you can hang out in your side angle pose. This is a little bit more challenging. It's going to ask a little more of that right leg, or if the left leg is the leg that's bent, the left leg, but we're going to be here. Turn the heart away from the floor. You're not the only one. I promise, David, somebody at home has their left leg as the bent leg. Yeah. So this is asking a little stamina, right? We're getting a little tired here. Firm the muscles to the bones. Take another breath. Firm that heel down into the ground. That right heel or left heel. And then when you're ready, pull through warrior two. And then press the legs straight, toes point forward. Heel toe your feet back together. Find mountain pose for a moment. Good. Think about rolling the upper arm bones out or externally rotating them so the palms face out. Feel how the scapula, your back shoulder bones are resting right on the back of the rib cage. The heart is nice and open. You're balanced between left foot, right foot. And just feel the difference between your sides, left side, right side, the side that was just working a lot. And then let's move toward balance. So we're going to take the legs wide again. Okay, so you're facing the long edge of your yoga mat. And then you're going to internally rotate the left or the right leg and externally rotate the left leg unless you did the opposite. Okay, and then when you're ready, you're going to bend your knee, the left knee out over the heel. Now think about your left foot, big toe ball, pinky toe ball, heel grounded, lift the arch. Bring the pelvis upright. Think about turning your trunk toward the long edge of the mat. But Sue, did you feel how your knee just pulled? So square your hips. Let your hips not square, but let the hips turn toward that bent knee. And then think about turning the ribs and the heart and the lungs, but not the pelvis. That's different, yeah? Arms reach out. So the heart, the lungs, and the ribs turn toward the long edge of the mat. Good. And then when you're ready, straighten that front leg, hands to heart. And then re-bend the front leg. The arms reach out, gazes over the fingertips. And then straightening, maybe with the inhale lifting and the exhale moving back in. Couple more times. Check on that knee. You want to make sure as you bend your knee that the knee is trying to track right over the center of the foot. It's not tipping inside of the big toe. And for some people, it's just the way our skeletons are built. The knees tend to lean medially, and that's okay. That's just the way we're built. But if you're able to, you're going to track that knee over the center of the foot. When you're ready, add side angle pose. So your forearm, left forearm comes to your thigh, and the right arm comes alongside the cheekbone. Good. And then we take that arm back down. We come back to warrior two, and then hands to heart and the front leg straightens. Good. And then gliding those legs back out, left knee out over the heel, forearm to thigh, the pelvis tips, feel the abdomen supporting back toward the spine. And then coming back to warrior two and straightening the front leg. And this last one we're going to hold. So either holding in warrior two or moving a little deeper. It's a little bit more of a stretch for the inner hips, and it's a little bit more strengthening for that front leg, the side angle pose. Take a few more breaths here. And then when you're ready, come all the way up. Relax the arms, straighten that front leg, turn your toes back toward the long edge of the mat, and then heel toe your feet back together and give your hips a little shake out. Nice work, everybody. Good job. All right, we're gonna do a little bit movement for our thoracic spine or upper back. I'm gonna have you find a blanket. Okay, if you're at home, it could be a blanket, could be a towel. And if you're in the studio, you probably have a blanket that's folded up like this, and we're gonna unfold it once. And then we're gonna roll it up. Sorry, you're unfolding it once. I just had to clean my folds up. You're gonna roll it up from the long edge so that you make like a noodle. Kind of roll it up into a nice tight noodle like this, okay? And then I'll show you what we're up to. You're gonna put the noodle, the blanket rolled down, and we're gonna lie back so that our scapula are on the roll. Your knees will be bent. So you're gonna support yourself back in a second, but watch what we're up to before you go down, please. So the blanket rolls down there, your scapula are on the roll, your hands are behind your head, your elbows are gonna hug toward each other. And we're gonna extend our spine back like your head is coming toward the floor in your hands. And then you're gonna curl yourself back up. And so we're trying to get the thoracic spine to move. Diane, or anybody else with a shoulder girdle injury, if this position ends up not feeling okay for your shoulder, you could also bring your hands to your chest. And it's like you're doing little sit-ups here. Okay, so try this. Put your scapula on the blanket, knees bent, feet planted, hands interlaced behind the head, the elbows wrapped toward each other. And feel you're right now holding yourself up with your abdominal muscles. Your low back is neutral, so you're not tucking your tail. It's just nice and neutral. With an inhale, head is heavy in the hands. You're not pulling on the head. Let the shoulders and the head tip back over the blanket toward the floor. So you're letting that thoracic spine extend. And on an exhale, engage in the upper abdomen, pulling your ribs, lower ribs down toward your hips. You're curling yourself up. So inhaling, slowly extending over the blanket, and exhale, curling yourself back up. Does that feel okay on that shoulder, Diane? Okay, great. So keep going. And then the next time you curl up, hold yourself up here, and we're gonna just wiggle back a little bit so that the blanket roll is hitting you a tiny bit lower so that we can get a couple of other vertebral joints mobilized. So as you inhale, you're continuing, you're gonna extend your spine up and over the blanket. And as you exhale, pull the navel down, the front ribs down, curl yourself up. And do that a couple more times. So our thoracic spine, this part of the spine that's attached to our rib cage, can get really stiff and stuck, and it can create discomfort in the low back or in the neck and shoulders. So we're just trying to loosen it up and mobilize it a little. Good. The next time you curl up, pause, and then reach one arm out to the side and support yourself off of your roll and all the way upright. Good job. I actually think that feels, does it feel good to you to get your spine kind of rolling back over that? We do so much in our day that's like this, that's out in front of us, or all of the seats in our lives, our couches, our car seats. kind of tip us into this C shape. And and this part of our spine that's attached to the rib is supposed to have a C curve to it, but it gets really pronounced and it can lead to neck and shoulder issues. Even rotator cuff issues can be from how much we do in front of us, how much our head is forward of the spine, because it shortens all of these muscles and it creates a lot of wear and tear in the joints. So anytime you have an opportunity to open up that heart and extend that upper back, take it. Now we're going to flip over onto our bellies. We only have a couple minutes left of class, but I wanted to have you come onto your abdomen. Forearms are parallel and the elbows are underneath your shoulders. This is called Sphinx pose. It's a back bend. Everybody has different proportioned bodies. Some of us have longer upper arms and shorter upper arms. Some of us have longer torsos or shorter torsos. If you need to move your elbows forward or backward a little so you're not feeling compressed in your mid or low back, take care of that. You can also really engage and reach the legs back. Feel your pubic bone firm down, engage your gluteal muscles a little, and you might even bring your front ribs, low front ribs into the body just a little bit. You're pushing the forearms down, you're drawing your shoulder blades down. And we'll take a breath here. So our bones are holding us in this spinal extension right now. A little while ago, we were on our backs rolling over a blanket and gravity in the blanket was helping us move into spinal extension. So now we flipped ourselves over, our bones are holding us up. And then the last thing we'll finish with is some active spinal extension, little back bending. So we're going to come down, the palms come to the floor alongside the hips. The forehead comes to the floor. The legs are going to stay long and grounded. The pubic bone firms down. The gluteal muscles are engaged. And with an inhale, lift the front of your shoulders away from the floor and let your chest and your forehead float up. Good. And then exhale, lowering back down. And just do that 4 more times. Lift the front of the shoulders. Inhale, chest and forehead lift up. The tailbone lengthens toward the heels. Exhale, lower down. And if you feel like it, you could add your hand. So as you lift your chest and your forehead and your shoulders away from the floor, maybe the hands float off the ground as well. But carefully, you don't float them so high that the shoulders roll back down. There's a sweet spot. So again, you can inhale, lift forehead, chest, front of the shoulders, and then the palms. But don't lift the arms, the hands too high. So high that they push the front of the shoulders back toward the ground. One more time, go ahead and lift up and stay up for a moment. You want to find just the right height, just the right amount of effort, that your breath is easy. You don't have to come up really high. If your low back feels compressed, find some low abdominal help. Draw navel spineward, draw pubic bone toward navel, and sit bones and tailbone reaching toward the heels without squeezing the glutes really hard. And then when you're ready, lower down, turn your cheek to one side and settle. Feel your heart beating. There's your other alternative to an espresso. A little back bending. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Press to your hands and knees. And then if it feels okay, slide to prayer pose. So make sure your knees are okay with this. You're going to hinge at the hips and at the knees, and the arms might reach forward unless you have a shoulder injury. The alternative to prayer pose in this moment is to roll onto your back and give your knees a hug to just release the spine without putting so much pressure on your joints. Okay. And then we'll finish with our legs. We're just going to finish on our backs, actually, because class at Katie Louvat and I took us right to the end of class. We have a couple minutes left to rest in Savasana. And I mentioned at the beginning, I think, how important rest is for heart health too. So we're going to roll onto our backs and just let your whole body flop out wide. If that makes your lower back cranky to have your legs stretched out long, then bend your knees. You could put a roll underneath your knees. And we're just going to settle for a moment. Nothing else to do. No more work to do. Shavasana is our final relaxation pose. And ideally, you stay in it longer than I leave you in it. But even a minute or two is really valuable. So you can think about that during the day, even if you just have a minute or two to sit down and maybe observe your breath, stop doing and just sit there and be with your breath and listen to the sounds around you, or notice the quality of the light in the room. That pause is a sacred pause. It's so important for mental health. Feel the ground supporting you from underneath. And that each exhale is an invitation to let go of your physical effort, any lingering tension in the neck or shoulders or behind the eyes or even at the jaw. Sometimes the jaw is still clenching. Can it soften? And that the exhales are an invitation to let go of any mental strain or tension. Maybe there's planning happening. Maybe there's some ruminating. And you don't need to stop thought, but we could step back away from it and untangle ourselves from it and just be a witness. Maybe move your awareness intentionally back to some soft felt sense of the body, the belly lifting and falling with your breath. The sensation of the heart beating in your chest. And drawing a nice deep breath in and feel the lungs fill and feel the lungs empty. Another breath, feel the belly expand and how it settles back toward the spine with the exhale. Feeling into fingers and toes, feeling into ankles and wrists. And then bending your knees when you're ready and rolling over onto one side or the other. And when you are ready, pressing the floor away, coming up to sit, give yourself whatever height is helpful. You can sit on a blanket with your legs crossed, but again, if you have SI stuff going on, you might want to just have your legs stretched straight out in front of you or be kneeling. Just see what feels good in your body. And then coming back into your body, feeling your connection to the ground. The exhale helping you feel rooted, the inhale helping you get a little taller. The exhale inviting you to relax any tension in the neck or shoulders. Roll our palms up with an inhale, and with an exhale, bringing hands either together in front of the heart, or you could even rest your hands right on your heart, right above the sternum, and feel the warmth from your palms. And that, just how nice that feels right on the heart. It's comforting. It's like you're sending yourself a little friendship, some kindness, some love. Thank you everyone for being here and joining us this afternoon. I wish you well, wish you a peaceful evening. Namaste.